All right, guys. Well, last piece of news we have here, last topic rather, that we have to wrap up all this. So now this is a big one, guys. This is a very weird news. So I'll go through it as swiftly and as descriptive as I can. So there's an there was an interview between Kevin Feige, the Marvel Studios president, and the person that's been running the MCU, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, for years now, and Amy Pascal, who is the former head of Sony and is the producer, one of the producers for the upcoming Spider-Man: Homecoming in association with MCU. So, what happened was there was a news story where Sony had announced they were going to make their own Marvel universe, and that they were going to make a Venom movie that Tom Hardy was going to be in. We had reported that a couple of episodes ago. Black Cat and Silver Sable, they were going to make a film on those two characters. And when they asked Kevin Feige, are these films going to be part of the MCU? He was quoted as having said, "For now, there's no plan for Venom in the MCU. It's a Sony project." That's what he said. So cut back to a few weeks later, and like I said, so Amy Pascal and Kevin Feige are being interviewed by Film Starts, and what's it called? She was asked about Venom and the Black Cat Silver Sable features, and this is what she said. She said, "Well, those movies will all take place in the world that we're now creating for Peter Parker. They'll be adjuncts to it. They may be different locations, but it will still all be in the same world, and they will be connected to each other as well." Talking about how Venom and the Black Cat Silver Sable movies are set in the same universe as Spider-Man: Homecoming, which is an MCU film. And furthermore, Tom Holland was even asked, would he end up appearing in Sony's Marvel Universe films? And he said, "Yeah, there's always a chance, definitely." So with all this news being come into attention, there's a lot of confusion because Kevin Feige was there during that interview, and he didn't really say anything when she said that. So the question now is, so obviously Sony's Marvel Universe is its own thing. So I think what people are taking from this news is that either A, these films are almost like spin-offs of Spider-Man: Homecoming, meaning that they're not part of the MCU. In other words, don't expect to see Tony Stark make an appearance in those films or anything like that. It's more of like this is a movie that exists concurrent with the MCU, but not necessarily crosses over. Almost like a more stripped down version of the Netflix Marvel shows that are being released. How those are set in the same universe, they make references, but you never really see a big crossover. Or B, Tom Holland signed on to do 6 films, and right now, as per his Marvel contract, 5 of those 6 films are already occupied by the MCU projects he's doing, and there's room for one more film, which people think maybe is going to be a Spider-Man 3 that will be a Sony production only, that will have nothing to do with the MCU, and that in a way, her saying that is a way to trick people into thinking Venom with Tom Hardy is in the same universe, so that you're like, oh yeah, look, they're referencing Spider-Man and what he did in Homecoming. This has to be in the same universe. So then you go and you see that movie, and then when the MCU deal is done, and you have a Spider-Man 3 with Tom Holland by himself, all of a sudden you're like, oh, this must be an MCU movie. So people think it's either A, no, they just made a deal with Marvel, or B, they're being deceiving, you know what I mean? And they're trying to trick people. And that's kind of like what's going on with this news.
Aye, aye, aye.
I know,
Right.
I know, dude.
Yeah, it's a mouthful, isn't it, to take
Yeah,
in?
yeah,
Um, yeah. Well, I mean, like, I remember when we heard about this news, we were like, "Oh my God, Spider-Man in the MCU, unbelievable news. We never thought this would happen."
yeah.
And I think this is like the long-term repercussions of something like that
The
happening.
monkey's paw,
But
right?
yeah, essentially, because like now we don't really have a straight answer about where this film's go, well, where the where the character's going, where the series is going, where there's mini. It's almost like the split that's happened from the MCU, which isn't part of the MCU as well.
Yeah.
Um, with all these kind of films, it's just strange. It's strange hearing it, especially when it's in public and you have different voices like telling you different things. You're like, who's right and who's wrong, kind of
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah, no, I mean it is it's fucking it's strange, man. And there is a lot of he said she said stuff going on because what I just said, the two scenarios I just said, those are speculation. Those are hearsay. Those are just things that people are thinking. The bottom line is Amy Pascal has said, "No, yeah, Venom and this other, Black Cat, Silver Sable films, yeah, those are set in the same universe as Spider-Man Homecoming. Specifically, she said Spider-Man Homecoming, not the MCU, and that
Mm,
it's adjunct to that universe, which the way I really think, man, that my hope, and this is just a theory because none of this is true, but my hope is that this is an extension of the deal they made with Sony. I mean, with Marvel, with Disney.
Marvel.
Yeah, and that basically what's happening is we are going to get a third Spider-Man film because right now we only have, I think Tom Holland's initial contract was Captain America: Civil War, Spider-Man: Homecoming, the two Avenger films, and then another Spider-Man: Homecoming film. And after that, and that'll be, I think, by 2020, his deal will be up. I think what I hope has happened is there's been an extension, and that perhaps they are going to make a third film set in the MCU, like continuing Spider-Man's story, but in exchange, now it's okay, that's great. You have to let us with the Tom Hardy Venom movie, with this other film that's happening. You have to let us be able to reference Homecoming or anything that Spider-Man is doing in your universe. You have to let us reference it in ours,
Mm,
so that this is set in the same universe, but you guys don't have to use our characters if you don't want to. We won't take Tony Stark from you guys and stick him with Venom or some shit like that. I think that would be the most likely thing, especially considering this guy Feige was there with her and never said
yeah,
anything, never elaborated. I mean, he sat there in silence. And to be honest, you should see the video, Adnan. It's pretty funny. He gives a
might have to
horrific.
watch it.
His face is that of horror that she said that. Like he really does look kind of horrific with it, with her talking about that. Almost like, remember Sad Affleck? It's kind of like the new Sad Affleck video because you could just tell there's so much going in that guy's head as she's talking. But he doesn't say anything. He smiles and he laughs after the conversation's over. So to me, that makes it seem like maybe they made an agreement, but maybe he was like, don't, like, maybe he was freaking out because it's like, don't talk about that quite yet. Like it was,
Yeah, it's a
they were gonna
verbal
save
agreement
that.
or some kind of like.
Yeah,
I,
like a
it,
quote unquote gentleman's agreement, kind of like in MGS3, with the
yeah. See, this is where the issues come across as well with like the idea that the Homecoming is part of the MCU, isn't it?
yeah, definitely, 100%.
Yeah, so that's what I mean. Because then when those kind of deals expire and stuff, then you have something that you've owned, but
Yeah,
yeah, it's like deadlocked in loads of like different laws and agreements and everything else that you've made,
yeah,
which basically puts you in a position where um, it puts you in a position where it is kind of difficult to deal with because you're like, right, I've got this, like, great, because I think Homecoming will be a commercial success at the box
yeah,
office. I think it definitely will be because it's got a lot of support behind it.
yeah,
But then obviously when you can't reference certain things, it changes lines. It's in itself, like as you said, as you tried to explain it, it causes a lot of problems.
yeah,
And maybe Marvel does have some kind of like long-term deal in place with Sony to kind of like maybe extend it. Maybe it's like kind of agree on little things. Um, but like it, it is a really really tight rope they're balancing themselves on
yeah,
Sony with this because they did it was because I mean like when we go back to our old podcast when we talked about it, it was like whoa this is can be a cool deal, but then it was like even at the same time we were like what's the kind of like what
the
do we not know about this
repercussions.
deal? Yeah,
Yeah,
what are the little things that we do not know what could happen with it as well? Because it could be great for Sony, but at the same time it could be disastrous as well. 'Cause you're like, hang on a minute, like now we kind of be left out to like to be
like
extorted. I think.
like what's gonna happen? Venom's gonna be like, Tom Hardy's gonna be like, ah, yes, he has a lovely singing voice, that Tom Hardy Spider-Man. Like what's gonna? He can only talk about Tom Hardy Spider-Man. He can't be like, I saw him and Tony Stark. He can't. Like, can he say that? You know what I mean? Or can he be
It'll be
like, I saw him and some other guy doing it. Like, it just opens up can of worms of like what can Venom now say? Because they have to,
Oh yeah,
if they want it to be in the same universe, they're gonna have to reference Homecoming, so that people know
yeah.
that. So how do you reference Homecoming, but not reference all the MCU elements of that? That just seems so weird to me. It's like, why even bother that kind of thing?
Yeah, it'll be like Back to the Future scene where, like, he has the Marty McFly picture and he's fading into existence, Tony Stark, and he's like, "What's happening?" He's disappearing.
That would be so. And they make his head disappear first, so it's not Robert Downey Jr. They don't get sued with likeness rights. Dude, I would. Oh my god, I'd be so happy if that's Venom.
Just
Venom is altering time, and he keeps looking at the picture, and he's like, "Oh, it's okay. I saved Tom Hardy, but this other guy went away, so it's totally cool, guys. Like, we're
you
in."
got you gotta do it somewhere. You gotta do it somewhere, haven't you?
I really, dude, I wish we were making the Venom movie now, just to
I
meet
wish I
Tom
wasn't that.
Hardy. But
We'd be bombed at the box office. Fuck me.
it
Same
could.
thing would happen to us on the Han Solo film. We'd be stripped from the credits, and Ron Howard would come in to save the film.
Yeah, we'd be like, we gotta have Union Jack in the movie. Adnan is ready to play him. Let's do this. And they're like,
Hi
Union
guys,
Jack.
in the background.
They're like, Union Jack. This is Star Wars, and we're like, whatever, man. We could use them, right? It's all on the same roof. But I guess in this case, the proof is in the pudding, man. I mean, Sony is, to kind of wrap this up. Sony is not, to put nicely, they're not the most reliable filmmakers, and I think that they've had a very troublesome past. And like you mentioned, dude, in our older podcast when we first reported this news, we were excited because we thought, man, what a great idea, what a good step in the right direction for them, working with this company as opposed to trying to fucking reboot Spider-Man again by themselves. Because the Andrew Garfield films, I think, were a mess, and they didn't know what the hell they were doing with those movies. But now, yeah, dude, now it's kind of rearing its ugly head again. So, I mean, as our patented phrase, man, we'll see how this goes, but I really hope that Sony extends the deal and that this is a reflection of that deal. I hope it's not, the other theory that the fandom has, which is this is like a deceiving, notion of almost like lying, but not really lying to people. I hope that's not
Hmm.
the case. But all right, guys. Well, I guess that's gonna be it for today's show. Of course, you guys can check out. You could re-listen to this episode as much as you want right here on our YouTube channel. You could go visit our older episodes as well. Also check us out on Twitter. We're at Podcast Go, where you can get most of the information we're going to be giving out. And yeah, just be sure to stick around, guys, for some future exciting episodes. Adnan, thank you for being on the show as always, man.
Cheers, Chris.
Yeah. All right, guys. Thanks again for watching, and take care.
See you later.